I'll call to order the Ascension Parish Council meeting for Thursday, December 5th. Before we stand for the prayer and the pledge, I just wanted to offer this special prayer tonight for Councilman Dempsey Lambert. His aunt, Paula Burat, passed away. And for those who may not know Miss Burat and her history, she fought through the challenge of her blindness and didn't let that stop her in her life, and was a very successful woman. And in fact, Paula Park in Ascension Parish is named after her. So ask that we please keep everyone in the Dempsey Lambert's extended family in your prayers. Go ahead and stand for the prayer. Dear Lord, as we gather tonight, we just ask for your special, again, grace on those who have lost loved ones recently, and there have been many, Lord. We also ask that you take care of those this winter as we get into the cold season here, Lord, who are without homes and who are struggling to get by. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Secretary, all members present with the exception of Councilman Melancon and Councilman Turner. Chair's additions, I did want to just address something, obviously, in the last few hours that's come out in the media with regards to the Shell announcement about their decision not to move forward with the multi-billion-dollar GTL project. And I know we have Ms. Barbara Blakely and Mr. Mike Smith here, and I'd like to call on them shortly. A few things to note, just some general comments, is, we certainly have appreciated you guys' efforts to this date. I know you have put a lot of effort into it, and we certainly are obviously disappointed, as I'm sure you are, but we look forward to continued partnership with you guys at your plant here in Geismar, and Ascension Parish is certainly going to remain in a fine position with billions of dollars of investment in projects already underway, and billions more in the pipeline, as we continuously hear from Ascension Economic Development Corporation. But Mike, Barbara, I don't know if you wanted to come, please say a few words, and maybe if folks have questions. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Mr. President, thank you. My name is Michael Smith, Community Relations for Shell Gulf Coast GTL. And as the chairman just alluded to today, our news was that our board of directors has taken our project down a bit of a different path than when I came before you a few weeks ago. And as the chairman noted, that our project will be stopping where we are, and our community office off of Highway 44 will close at the end of this year. And it is, I can tell you, it has been an absolutely amazing ride, a short ride, but it has been an amazing ride working with each of you, working with the parish president, his staff, as we have worked to what I think create a model project for not only this company, but also for others to consider following with regards to community engagement, engagement with stakeholders all across this particular region. But I do want to leave you with this, and that is that the future is incredibly bright for Ascension Parish. You have many irons in the fire, and that's to the credit of the leadership here at this body, the parish president's office, and the leadership of the surrounding communities. And for that, you should be incredibly proud and very optimistic, as we are, about the future. As the chairman alluded to, we continue to operate in your community, continue to have our strong chemical facility at Geismar with a liquefied natural gas to transport facility. Also, we have our partnership with the Motiva refinery just across the border in St. James Parish, which is practically in Ascension Parish, and many of your constituents are employees there. So thank you for the time to address you today. I'm delighted to know each and every one of you, and thank you on behalf of our company for all you do for this community. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. President?
I want to echo those sentiments. I had a couple years to work with these folks, and I especially grown fond of Miss Barbara Blakely. She's been nothing but professional, I would tell you, and all of my dealings with Shell have been professional. And even this morning when I got the call, that was it was, they never did say that they were coming. They always said that they were going to look at it and you know, that if they built this plant, they would build it in Ascension Parish. So we're very proud of that. We were chosen from 100 sites in the United States, and that's something to be said. But again, I just want to wish Shell and Miss Barbara, I'm trying to talk into moving to Ascension Parish and becoming part of the community. So if we can do that, at least we've won something here. And you know, if nothing else from this experience, we've taken away a lot of new friends, and that's what it's all about. So again, I appreciate all of your efforts and all of your professionalism in the past couple of years. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Chris, real quick.
Councilman Schexner.
I just want to echo some of the things that were said, and also say this, that to anyone that does wish to come in and locate, and obviously we want many industries to locate in Ascension Parish, but the next one that does, if you're looking for models as to how to do it, you know, please call these people, because they put the people at ease with all their questions up front. They were always there up front. They went out and solicited the people, their inquiries, and it was easy to be positive with them coming there. So I do want to say that anyone in the future, I think this is a good model as to how to come in. It's not just a business, it's coming into the community, and I think everyone did feel like there was some responsibility as well as a financial thing. So I did want to say that for them. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Kluwat.
Yeah, Mike, I want to thank y'all for coming here and coming up front with this, okay? That means a lot. But, hey, look, in the future, you still got plenty of land. You got some good operating units here in the parish. And I know that you have several technologies that you haven't unveiled yet that can come forward, and we can do some expansions on those. So keep us in mind. We'll just start where we left off today. Thank you, sir.
Great. Okay, move on to item number 4, public comment sign-in period reminder. If anyone wishes to speak on an item, please fill out a comment card with the secretary and you'll have 3 minutes. And with that, we'll move into item number 5 on the parish president's report. Mr. President.
Yes, I have the new chancellor at River Parish Community College, Mr. Dale Doty, who came here in early November, and I just thought it would be a good opportunity for us to welcome him to the community, and also for all of you to meet him, and look forward to their new facility that's being built now. If you pass on Interstate, where it intersects with 44, you look to your right coming from Cabela's, and you'll see that new building, and that's going to be the new college, and it's going to be a fabulous facility, and I look forward to it in the future. And I know that there was a long screening process, and I know Mr. Doty must be a special person to have been chosen from that long list of nominees. So, Mr. Doty, without any further ado, I'd like to invite you up and tell us a little bit about yourself and what the plans are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, members of the council. I am very pleased to be at River Parish's Community College. The opportunity for me is a wonderful situation. My background in education and industry, it gives me a combination of experiences that puts me in a very good place to work with the businesses here and the manufacturing folks in developing a workforce that will meet the long-term needs for continued economic development in the River Parishes area, and in your case, Ascension Parish specifically. I did get here the 1st of November, and I've been one of those educators that's moved a few times and take advantage of the opportunities that have occurred. I was in South Carolina for the last 4 years before I came here, and I was in Colorado for 4 years and Ohio for about 5 years before that. And then I had 16 years of manufacturing management experience, quite a bit of which was in West Monroe, Louisiana. So I have some history with Louisiana and some experience here. I'd also like to make a point for all of you to thank you for the efforts that you've made over the years in the development of River Parish's Community College, because The work of Dr. Joe Ben Welch and the staff and faculty of the college is not something that we could have accomplished without you as elected officials and members of the community and the support for the development of the college. Creating an institution from scratch. There was no college, there was no campus, there was no student population. Your contributions there were significant, and I want to thank you for that. As we move forward, I want you to understand a couple of things that I will work at. Partnership is going to be a significant part of our efforts, working with other educators, other political entities, and with the businesses and organizations such as Association Building Contractors in developing programs to meet the needs of our service area. Partnership is important. The other thing I want you to keep in mind, as I mentioned already, workforce, economic development. I see River Parish's community college as a very well-established base in academic programs and general education. We have work to do to prepare the workforce that's necessary to keep these businesses functioning effectively and efficiently. And we're going to work on it one individual at a time to help them gain the skills and the experiences they need to be successful economically. And as we work with those individuals, we'll expand and improve the economic well-being of the entire area. And that's what we'll be here for. It's about economic development, it's about the workforce, it's about education, a stronger area, a stronger Louisiana, a better future for all of us. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you this evening.
Fantastic. Congratulations again, Dr. Jody, and that was very well stated. Appreciate your comments. Look forward to working with you. All right, we'll move on to item number 8.
But 6.
Sorry, 6. Having trouble with some eyesight tonight. Number 6. Resolution for the enterprise zone endorsement. Mr. Barrington.
Yes, this is, Mr. Eads asked me to handle this. This is just the LED requires us to designate the zones for enterprise, and he'd asked that we need to pass this resolution for further development.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes. Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Turner has arrived. Item number 7 is a change order number 3 for HMGP 1603N-005-0004, wind retrofit of critical facilities. Ms. Collins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Unfortunately, this project is running over time because of the fact that we have been unable to get the materials. The contractor has done everything in his power to do. We have gotten a firm date of January the 9th. So we're here to ask for a change order for time only, and thank you.
Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Bluat. Discussion? Objections? That motion passes.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll move to item number 8, Resolution Fiscal Year 2013-2014 Local Government Assistance Program. Again, Ms. Collins.
Thank you. This is a program that comes out of the legislature. It's for municipalities, cities, and parishes. We would like your approval to submit an application for the 2013-14 Louisiana Government Assistance Program, and to authorize Parish President Tommy Martinez to sign and execute all documents, and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc for financials.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman Shakespeare. Any discussion?
Yes.
Sorry, who?
What
Councilman
are-
Joseph?
What are these funds will be used for, Ms. Collins?
What are these funds are going to be used
Yeah.
for? The application is going to be for fans at Lamar Dixon. We had done a partial, and what we've done is we will complete the project for the arenas, and so this is, we'll finalize that.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
That'll do it. I have a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Wausau has arrived. Item number 9, introduction of an ordinance to revoke the existing 15-foot servitude located between lots B-1-B and B-1-D of the O'Neill Burke Jr. property, moved to council via UDC 17-4050B2A. I have a motion introduced by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Randy Kluwat. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. Item number 10 is a reading of an ordinance to revoke an existing 15-foot servitude running across the middle of Lot 4-3-A-1 of the Lewis Stafford property, 11520 Highway 431 in Santa Monica. Mr. Parrington.
The purpose is to revoke the existing 15-foot servitude located at the center of Lot A3A1, Section 25, Township 9 South, Range 3 East in Santa Monica, Louisiana. Whereas the petitioner has petitioned the Ascension Parish Council to revoke the dedication of the existing 15-foot drainage servitude located in the center of Lot A3A1, Section 25, Township 9 South, Range 3 East in Santa Monica, Louisiana. Whereas the Drainage Department engineering and relevant utility companies have reviewed and researched and said request and have no objection to the revocation. Whereas the Ascension Parish Planning Department, upon review of said request, has recommended approval of the proposed revocation request. The Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants the approval of revocation of existing 15-foot drainage servitude located in the center of Lot A3A1, Section 25, Township 9 South, Range 3 East, in Santa Monica, Louisiana, as more fully described on the plat attached hereto made a part hereof. All ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. If any provision of the ordinance is held to be invalid, the invalidity shall not affect the provisions which can be given effect without the invalid provisions. And to this end, the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. The effect of this ordinance shall be 15 days after adoption. The ordinance having been submitted.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Anyone wish to speak? Motion closed by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Wausau. Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Randy Kluwat. Any discussion? Objections? Ordinance is adopted. Item 13, reading of an ordinance SR 13-14, revisions to subdivision regulations of the Unified Land Development Code pertaining to protection of existing watersheds and conveyance systems requirements. Mr. Parrington.
The purpose of the ordinance is to clarify what is meant by impervious surface and remove incorrect reference. Whereas the Ascension Parish local government subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution 1974, and whereas Article 6 of the Whole Road Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993, identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish, and whereas Ascension Parish Regional Planning Commission has adopted subdivision regulations as part of the official plan of the parish in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute on January 21, 1971, and whereas the Parish Council has adopted resolution as Appendix 4 of the Unified Land Development Code on December 17, 2009, whereas it's necessary to make a change to clarify the code and remove incorrect reference, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that Section 17-506 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code is amended as attached Exhibit A In event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over such portion shall be deemed separate and distinct and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance shall have full effect as permitted by law. The exhibit is section 17-506 with revision. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote with error on was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Lawson. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman
Second.
Lawson. Second by, may I hear a second? Councilman Satterley? Need a motion to move the ordinance? So moved. Motion by
Second.
Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson. Discussion, Councilman Schexnayder.
Clarification, Ricky, what do you mean in here? I'm looking at, the only statement that bothers me is any surface, impervious surface, any surface where the infiltration of stormwater into the earth has been reduced by the works of man.
All right, so let me clarify.
Tell me.
I missed the commission meeting for Family Matters.
Yes.
When this was discussed, and my suggestion was going to be revise this even further. So let me get to what this ordinance was trying to do and where I'd like it to get to. In the definition section of our code, it defines impervious surface as any surface where the infiltration of stormwater into the earth has been reduced by the works of man. That exists in our code today. But that's probably not Webster's dictionary definition of impervious surface. Impervious surface means the water cannot penetrate through it. So as a developer comes to this parish, he has his engineer look at our code, and he's looking at the drainage section, and it's saying impervious surface. He's doing calculations not based on limestone or gravel, but really just concrete and rooftops. So what this was trying to do was say, no, anything that's less pervious than's there today, so ground, if you're doing something that's less pervious, limestone, gravel, any paved surface, then we want you to address it in drainage. Since this got started, we had a situation arise, and this isn't the first time, but we're going to call it the straw that broke the camel's back. A developer who had a larger piece of property subdivided it into smaller lots. That developer pulled one permit and built a building, and because that building and the pavement was less than 17,500 square feet, he was not required to do a drainage plan. Well, now that developer's come in and he's doing a second lot in the same line of lots. And his claim is, no, that's a separate development. And our claim is, no, it's one development. It's a subdivision, but you've got to satisfy the drainage. So what I would like to request is just to remove item 1 altogether. Let's put the onus on our engineers to say, developer, what are you doing? What is the impact to the parish with your impervious surface? And if it is less than 17.5 and there is no substantial problem, then we can let it go. If somebody does this plan again where we've got the second or third lot as part of a subdivision, they weren't required to do it, but now we look at it and we go, you know what, there's enough pavement here that we need to satisfy the drainage requirements, we can make them do that. So I would like to request that we remove 1 altogether. If we leave 1 in, there's still that loophole where somebody can subdivide and avoid doing drainage.
You're talking about new development, commercial developments that create less than 17,000 square feet?
Yes, sir. If we omit that altogether, then the second item becomes redevelopment. That becomes number 1. And I would suggest that we reword the words in there that say impervious and just change those words to improved. So if you improve the surface, meaning limestone, gravel, pavement, asphalt, concrete, do the drainage calcs and show us what the impacts are. But the word impervious doesn't work in the code because of how our code defines it. And once again, I think it was just how the code was defined at that point, calling it, it's an improved surface is what it is. It's not an impervious surface.
And let me ask you something. Will there be levels of drainage improvements based on levels of surfaces? Like if you put concrete as compared to limestone, as compared to compaction or something?
Yes, sir. And the onus is really going to be on the applicant and his engineer to basically show our engineers that, hey, I'm only doing limestone, the runoff rate is only this much higher than what it is at natural ground, so I only need to store this volume of water. And as long as they prove it with their engineering calculations, yeah, they can satisfy it. We told the developer, you know, you could put a catch basin and a pipe in the ground, and that probably could store the volume that you need to store, as opposed to digging a swale or a pond. You know, there's lots of options out there, but we need to remove the loophole.
Okay, and that's something that, and I'm just asking because I hadn't had a chance to, you know, have these discussions. And what would be, how much of an increase in cost, let's just say, per development, you know, or is that something that would be taken care of by your normal cost? Is it $100, $1,000, $10,000?
I would imagine that the average drainage study for a lot that's smaller than an acre or 2 acres, where they're going to have close to that 17.5 or 15, is probably under $1,000. To do the study to show minimal to no impacts that I can be resolved with a pipe or a small swale. It's a minimal change. This loophole, once again, I'm going to go back in time. When I first got here, we had an engineer, Chris Ewing. He left. We were left with no engineer before I was able to hire and find Ben Laurie. And Bill Rue and I and Bob Turner sat down and we said, how can we create language that makes it easier for us to understand if somebody needs to do drainage calcs? Well, when Ben got here, we put that language into the code, and that language was 17.5. And the idea was, mom and pop want to build a snowball stand. Mom and pop want to build a beauty salon on their lot. They're going to build a 5,000 square foot building and 4,000 square foot of parking. We don't need little mosquito pit ponds all over this parish. So we created the language to allow them to not do that. But we've seen it now 3 times that a developer has used that as a loophole to not do it, and it's burned us. And we need to get rid of the loophole and let our engineering department determine whether or not those small developments need stormwater ponds.
And when, I mean, and is there an alternative to looking at an overall size of the development being partitioned and sold off in a certain part of time? Is that an option?
I think it's a loophole, because there's people out there who are land rich who can divide it and sit on it if we put timing things on there. I mean, the ones that we're talking about, this was 3 lots that was combined into 1 lot, you know, 8 months ago, and then 6 months ago, those 3 lots that are now 1 lot were divided into 8 lots. I mean, they do it over time, and if you put these timing things as part of your code, people will figure out a way around it. It's, do we need stormwater detention or don't we? And if we remove the loophole, everybody has to answer the question, and then our engineers can decide if what they're doing is working.
Right. I would just like to make sure that we set up a process where I mean, I think everybody wants to consider stormwater. I mean, that's not a question, I don't think, but I think it's important to set up a very definitive time frame where, you know, it doesn't take too long and it doesn't cost too much money, because, I mean, we have to be able to, and if we have to have some education things with the people that want to do that, because people don't mind doing things if they know up front what's the rules and what's the law. So
Yes, sir.
if we can do that, I think we need to work with developers and anybody that's going to do that, so they know up front what's going on, and then that may help alleviate the process.
The turnaround time in our office is short. It's very short. Consider when you compare it to the time it takes to get a DHH permit or to get your fire marshal plans approved. The turnaround time in our office is maybe 2 weeks.
We don't ever want to get to where
No.
we're comparing ourselves with some of these other permitting people, because I don't want to get into that. I want to service the people.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that the onus is on the parish for that.
Right.
Councilman Cluett, you have some comments?
Yeah, Ricky, you'd made the statement about commercial. This basically is generally for commercial development.
Yes, sir. We don't do any stormwater for individual lot residential.
Okay.
So I want to make that clear to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a question in the back of somebody's mind, wherever, yeah.
Councilman Joseph?
So Ricky, you want us to change our ordinance, make an amendment to take that out, correct?
Yes, sir. My recommendation would be to eliminate number 1 and renumber 2, 3, and 4 to 1, 2, and 3, and change the word impervious to improved on number 2 in those 3 instances.
I'd like to make, would the chair would entertain an
What about the
amended motion?
definition of impervious?
Hang on, we need some more discussion.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's already changed in there.
Rick, and you also going to change in the definition of impervious?
It's already changed on there.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Shakespeare has the floor.
And because there are a number of changes, is it going to hurt us to wait 2 weeks to get a clean version of this and get that back for the next meeting?
I don't think it hurts us. I'm not seeing another application in right now that this is going to impact. I don't believe that our intention was to revise our definition of impervious, because I can't tell you if that affects another section of the code, as opposed to where we were just talking about stormwater and whether it's required. Impervious, just leave it the way it is and just call it an improved surface, because if you're going from natural ground to limestone, that's improved. Limestone to asphalt, that's improved. You know, there's grades of improving.
Well, I would like to see us, and put it in form of a motion, that we put this on hold until the next meeting where we get a clean copy that we can look at and know
I'll second
exactly
that.
what we're voting on. And then there can be some discussions in there, you know, if any questions, because this is something that does affect people.
Councilman, if it helps you, I've already made it a legal opinion that you can't circumvent the law anyway, that you can't subdivide to do this deal. I mean, we've dealt with this for years when I represented planning and zoning. You can't subdivide, one developer cannot subdivide his property to get around this ordinance. I've given that opinion already, so.
I understand
you
that,
wanna delay?
and you know, but people read certain things, and I have no problem with that, but I just want to make sure what we vote on is that I have a clear copy in front of me, so that there's no questions about what it's going to be before we vote on it. And if it's not an issue of time, I'd like to see it postponed for the 2 weeks.
Mr. Rue, would you care to address this, please, and kind of share your opinion?
Yeah, Ricky can stay up there. I mean, you just,
Yeah, actually, this is somewhat of a compromise. I mean, we went through this a number of years ago, and the fact of the matter is, at that time, and I'm still under the opinion that we should be a clear cut, all commercial developments it has retention, period. And no loopholes, no exceptions, you retain. So it's a small mom and pop 2-room commercial store or whatever, they got to retain their water. Now, if you go into the situation of pervious, impervious, improved, the fact of the matter is, you can come in there and build a building and put all limestone, don't put the retention in, somebody, and a year, 2 years later, pave everything, we have no way of knowing. And now you circumvented the whole thing. So that's my only comment on it. I think we ought to just be clear-cut retention across the line of any commercial development or subdivision. So,
Councilman Cluett. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I believe Councilman Shakespeare made a substitute motion. Did you not, sir? I think you said in the form of a motion.
Yes.
Okay, and then I need to take action on that. I had a substitute motion to
Table it until.
to actually postpone this until the next council meeting, and a second by Councilman Melanson. Discussion, Councilman Cluett.
yeah, I got mixed feelings about that. I kind of agree with Ricky sometimes that we don't want these little mosquito ponds and things like that. But on the original, after it passes through us, if with these changes, after it passes through, they said they're going with limestone. I know, I guess, what the heck we got to do? We got to police them to see that they don't pour concrete there? I mean, I don't know the extremes of what we got to go through. We can't become more police action than we are actually helping people. So, you know, I'm sure that something's going to fall through the cracks, and something's going to be done that somebody else didn't see. But I agree with you, Ricky, that we make this to where at least up front, we're going to know what we're going to be able to ask the question, what are you planning on doing with this space right here, not this little bitty space right there. So I agree with that.
Councilman Sadler.
Yeah, I'm all for waiting too, but maybe for a different reason than Councilman Schexnayder. My concern is that we've opened and closed the public comment period relative to the language that we have in front of us right now. And, you know, I understand, Mr. Compton, as you said, you weren't there at that meeting and you would have liked this further change that you're asking for, which, if I understand it correctly, is slicing through 17506A subpart 1. And also, if you take the new development out of the subpart 1, under A, there's still that language of new development, and new development goes. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be more prudent to just send this back, as opposed to table to our next meeting, to the Planning Commission, where you would be present and you could explain to them the same things then that you've explained to us tonight as to why you want not just a strike-through of impervious and the addition of less pervious, but to get rid of the whole shooting match. Does that maybe make a little more sense? If so, I would offer it as a substitute motion. I guess it all depends again on the speed. I'm not questioning whether this council has the ability to just go ahead and do this, but it seems like we'd want the public to, I did notice also Mr. Aguiar, who's not here tonight, spoke in front of the Planning Commission and wouldn't be given then the opportunity to speak against a change that was already spoken on, so to speak, from the public at that meeting. What do you think?
Well, real quickly, the quick answer is, one of the problems with this language in the code is that it's gray, in the sense that engineer from X community comes to work in this parish, and A, they don't understand our definition of impervious surface, B, they don't understand if limestone plus pavement plus rooftop is 17.5, this, that, and the other. So by removing this language altogether, all we're simply saying is we're going to treat everybody exactly the same, and everybody has to submit a drainage report that says whether or not you're going to impact anyone else, downstream, upstream, however. So that's, to me, that's, I don't know that we need a delay to say we want everybody to be treated exactly the same. I mean...
Well, by the way, I'm not against it. I'm just saying from a technical standpoint, Ken has used already how it would be cleaner to table it and just come back here. I think it would be cleaner yet to table it, and actually not table it, but defer it back to planning and let them hear your explanation, come back with a new language, and it's very clean, as Kent wants it as well, and we can vote on it then, unless we have to do this by the next meeting.
So, question that may, for Madam Secretary, regarding posting and, or Mr. Parrington, it may allay some of Doc's concerns. It's my understanding that if we postpone this to the next council meeting, we'll still have to have a public hearing, because we'll be taking the vote on the ordinance at that point in time. We basically have to repost a notice of the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so there will be opportunity for people to speak at that time, so perhaps that allays some of the concerns. And just a general opinion here, gentlemen, I mean, of course, we will do what the body demands. I think Ricky has stated it very clearly, that we're talking about a word change and a strike through of one item. That's something we've done plenty of times. It's things that have come before us. I'd prefer to see us move on it at least some point in the future versus going through another month or two of the process. But that's just my opinion. But we'll go ahead, and I have a. Councilman Satterley, did you wish to make a substitute?
Well, I actually want more discussion first, maybe not, and I appreciate what you're saying, Chris, but does Councilman Schexnayder's motion include altering of the sentence above 17506A1 that has the word new development in it?
His motion was just to postpone it to the December 19th meeting. That's the last motion we have.
For Chris to come with.
So we'll just,
with clean
at that
copy.
point, we'll just see whatever the language looks like. Okay.
Yeah.
With the amendments meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I have a substitute motion on the floor as the last motion. We will, unless there's any discussion, take a vote on that. Is there any objection to that substitute motion? All right, hearing none. That substitute motion passes. Okay, we will move on to item number 16. Reading of an ordinance DR 13-11, revisions to drainage regulations of the Unified Land Development Code pertaining to placement of fill. Mr. Parrington.
Purpose of this ordinance to establish field regulations and the drainage regulations in the Unified Land Development Code, whereas Ascension Parish is a local government subdivision as defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution 1974, whereas the parish is the governing and responsible body within this parish and jurisdiction. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993, identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of parish. Whereas the code was incorporated as Appendix 5 of the Parish Unified Land Development Code adopted December 17, 2009. Be it ordained that the Ascension Parish governing authority by that Appendix 7 of the Unified Land Development Code is hereby created as follows. These changes are adopted as follows. See Exhibit 1 attached. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. The effect of this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The attachments are Exhibit 1. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Lonsall, second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Need a motion to move the ordinance?
Move the ordinance.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwat. Discussion. Councilman Kluwat.
Yes. I yield the floor to the
Okay,
parish
Mr. President.
I just want to make sure that this is going to 4 feet, is that correct?
Yes,
Mike, the mic's there.
This is to allow 4 feet of fill
yes.
at the top of it. My only question is, does this include the foot that we require above the floodplain? So would that mean it would can still go to 5? If we require, it would be 3 plus the 1 that we require? That's what I'm...
No, this is from existing ground level, measured from existing ground level. So it's really 3 plus the 1 you require.
3, that's what I want to clarify. So it's 4 total?
Yes.
Not 4 plus
4
2.
total.
Okay.
That's what-
Mr. Schexnayder, I know this came out of the committee, so I'll let you give an explanation on it.
Right, to also clarify, and, you know, there was discussions on how high people in this parish want the so-called, I guess, what was named ant miles. And there was discussion from anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet, and we've been doing research for years. One thing to note for people that added into this was also a limit on how much you can slope your property in order for protection of the people and the type of ground and all we have here. And all municipalities do this type of stuff depending upon the type of ground they have. And the 3-to-1 slope of the ground has been a commonly accepted thing that prevents the washouts that people see. With the 3-to-1 slope, there's very few houses that would get to be the 4-foot level in a normal situation, because that would, you know, you would have to have a very large yard. And so in those instances, a person putting 4 feet of fill would look pretty natural. What we don't want to have is somebody taking a small lot, building up on it and draining all their water into the neighbor's yard. That's the intent of this. And to also what we're seeing, and one of the things years and years ago Jefferson Parish had in Metairie and all, is they built these houses in certain areas without any restrictions, and now they're sinking 2 feet on one side and all kind of problems because, so these are all things that have been learned by experience, and the engineers are coming back and telling us that are future problems and problems that we're seeing now. A lot of this was brought on by the new elevations, which was given to us and imposed upon us. And so we're looking at a way to protect the citizens that are already living here from somebody moving next to them and draining all of their water on their property. So this is something that a lot of research has gone into. This is the best method we've found so far. If we can find a better one, so be it. You know, we will try that. So this is our best case.
Councilman Kluwat.
So basically, we allowing 4-foot elevation. 4 foot of fill, yes. Well, I'm all for the regulation, okay, because I do have some of that in this, all right? I'm not against people filling their land, but we do have those. We still need to work on some codes, because like Kent says, we got people that are filling from boundary to boundary, and they have no responsibilities for their water runoff. They don't have swale ditches, things like that. So, I would love to see it at 3. So, I would like to make an amended motion to be the maximum of 3 feet.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Kluwat to make it 3 feet as maximum, and a second by Councilman Johnson. Discussion? Is there, Councilman Todd Lambert?
I'd rather stay where they're at, 4 feet, because, we got some areas on that eastern part of the parish that's gonna take at least that, otherwise they're gonna put them on stilts. So I'd rather stay, I'm in addiction at 3.
Okay. Councilman Schexnayder?
And that was looked into, that was one of the things that was proposed years ago. It was soundly not accepted by people, and I know things have changed since then, and I haven't received objections for going that high. So I think we ought to, in my opinion, I think we ought to start somewhere that's going to be an obvious thing when people look at it, and get acceptance, and also let people know it's not a cost thing. The recent studies have shown that at about 30 to 32 inches of fill and everything, that's where your cost breakout is, between having to build up and then go opposed to going with piers. So with technology the way it is, people are, making some beautiful houses. There's a lot of $1 million houses that's off of there. So that's the reason why an argument can be made for any height. We want to take the issue out of the idea of whether we should do that at this height or not, and have it from a positive standpoint where everybody's, it's pretty obvious this is something we don't want. So that's why I'd like to stay with that, and I'd have to oppose to go any lower at this time.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilman Johnson?
Kent, one other question. If the break-even point is 36, what other objections were there to warrant going up another foot?
It's about they say between 30 and 32 inches. That's.
So if the break-even is 32, it's below 36, we're allowed to go at least 4 inches above that with 36. So what's the other objection if they want to go up, if we're going to allow them to go another foot? I mean, I'm trying to understand the correlation, because my initial outset of this, I was at 2 foot. And so a compromise at 3, I think, is reasonable in my opinion. That's why I would support a 36-inch foot fill. And so if cost is an issue, and I agree that it is, so if once you get to 32 inches, anything above that is cheaper or just as expensive to go to piles as opposed to it is to go to fill. So it's going to be more cost prohibitive to go 4 foot of fill as opposed to doing it on piles. What other objection might there have been at that point in time? We had the conversation before about there was objection to going any lower than that, but if the financial break point between the fill and the piles at 32 inches, I'm trying to understand what other objections they would have to going higher than
that. Any other discussion?
My answer is just that it's I'd rather see more of a public acceptance and a public option that people can decide, and give them a window of option where people can decide what they want in houses till it gets to the point where it becomes more of a public need. And so I just don't think at that point it's as much of a public need, in my opinion. I mean, and it's nothing other than that. It's just that's what we have to decide as a group, right, is where we are.
Well, so, I mean, I've heard several complaints from people that have had this happen to them, where the neighbor's gone back and had to, not any fault to the person building an individual house, but just by what the requirement is to get up above the flood elevation, has had to go out there and build their property up, and now they're pushing the water over on the neighbor's property, and the neighbor's yard staying saturated all the time. And I realize there's parts of this in there that'll help out with that, but it's still, it gets to be cost prohibitive even with doing that, as opposed to just putting it on piles, because now I gotta go out there and build swells and all this other stuff on my property to contain the water that's draining, as opposed to putting this on piles. So in addition to going above what the break point is on the fill, now I'm having to also go out there and put swell ditches and everything else on the sides of my property to contain the additional runoff there. So that's an additional cost of land development that the owner wouldn't have to do. So I mean, from that standpoint of view, I think it's more common sense to limit it at 36 and hopefully prevent some of the other stuff that's happening with it and help them out on the cost. Just my thoughts.
Okay. Other discussion? Councilman Kluwer.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear to everybody, I mean, I feel for the people that are having to go out and build houses. I mean, we got people in my area building houses probably, or because of the regulations and the FEMA flood stages, that not always right, that, but they're being forced to build them at an elevation that's probably easily in a lot of places 3 feet higher than anybody's ever seen the water before we even had the Martinbrook pump station or any improvements, okay? So, you know, are they getting, you know, are they getting any justice there? No, they're not so far. But we have elevated land on lots that's being built up and drained straight down to the edge of the lots with no regards to their water runoff on their neighbors. I mean, and it's, you know, that's just not right. So that's why I'm in favor of putting restrictions on the elevation, the buildup of the land. And we use the term piers, but there's like 40 different variations of how you elevate a house off the ground. And the general term is pier, but it's not all piers. Not like Grand Isle.
Okay. Councilman Wilson?
I just was wondering if, to kind of go off of what Councilman Kluwer and Johnson were saying, if we were to, I mean, is there a way we can look into doing, if you go over the 3 feet or between the 3 and 4 feet, maybe make a requirement that they do the swell ditches or make up for that drainage, the runoff onto somebody else?
It's in there for them to do that.
So if it's already in there, then that's what I'm questioning. I'm wondering why, if that's in there and they're going to do that, and they're going to move that water off if it's running off to it, then doesn't that eliminate the issue that you're bringing up?
Councilman Shakespeare?
If I could just clarify something, there's two issues on this deal. The first thing is that we wanted to address the idea of runoff water into the neighbor's property, which was the biggest thing. Excuse me. That's being addressed by the amount of slope, and it's not more costly. We're not saying you have to build a swell ditch. We have to say that if you change your drainage to drain on other people's property, then you have to build a swell ditch. If you take a normal lot right now and you put a 3-to-1 slope and you come that you don't drain into your neighbor's yard, you don't have to do anything else. That's just you build your regular path, but just at a 3-to-1 slope. And you limited to the amount high you can do is 4 feet. That's it. So the first thing is whether you put water on people's property. That's handled in the slope and the setback. The second thing is just deciding how big ant piles we want in the parish. And in my opinion, on a large lot, on things like that, there are conditions where if you meet the slope and you know, there are areas where people can do 4 feet of soil under there, and you can compact it and you can do things, and it may be more expensive, but people may choose to do that, and they're not impacting their neighbor, so I'm good with that, you know, if they choose to do so, even though it costs them more money.
Okay, we have an amendment on the floor for amended motion for 3 feet by Councilman Kluwer. We will vote on that item first. Yes vote indicate approval for the 3 feet. Madam Secretary.
Councilwoman Gazo.
Yes.
Councilman Kluwer.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman Melanson.
No.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
No.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
That motion passes. Okay, we will move on then to item number 18. Ordinance DR 13-11, revisions to the drainage regulations of the Unified Land Development Code pertaining to placement of fill. I'm sorry,
Just
wrong
did that
one. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone because my iPad has died, so it's kind of hard. 19, reading of an ordinance to revoke the existing 15-feet servitude across lots 15-A-1 and 15-A-3 in Carlino Place, second filing. Mr. Barrington.
Purpose to revoke the existing 50-foot servitude located across lots 15A1 and 15A3 on South Swamp Road. Whereas the petition has petitioned the Ascension Parish Council to revoke the dedication of the existing 15-foot servitude located across lots 15A1 and 15A3 on South Swamp Road in Prairieville, Louisiana. Whereas the Planning Department, Drainage Department, Engineering, and the relevant utility companies, save one, have reviewed and researched said request and have no objection to the revocation. Whereas Atmos has an objection to the complete revocation. Whereas the Ascension Parish Planning Commission, upon reviewing said request, has recommended approval of the proposed revocation request less the 12-foot portion of the utility servitude near the intersection of public roads as requested by Atmos. The Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants the approval of the revocation of the existing 15-foot servitude located across lots 15A1 and 15A3 on the South Swamp Road, Louisiana, less the 12-foot portion of utility servitude near the intersections as requested by Atmos, was fully described on the plat attached here to and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. All ordinances, reports, or ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby henceforth repealed. If any provision of this ordinance is held to be invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the provisions which were given full effect without the invalid provision. Instead of the end of the provision, this ordinance is hereby declared severable. The effect of the ordinance shall be as in 15 days the ordinance have been submitted.
Motion open public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Satterley.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Satterley.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Any objections? That ordinance is adopted. We will move on to item number 22, an ordinance to declare surplus miscellaneous movable equipment owned by the Parish of Ascension. Mr. Parents.
Purpose to declare surplus and authorize the sale and/or transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment, whereas the Parish of Ascension has certain assets that are no longer viable to retain, and whereas assets no longer serve any or have any public purpose, whereas the Parish of Ascension decided to declare said assets as surplus, provide for sale or transfer of the same. Whereas it be it ordained that Ascension Parish Council, acting in its capacity of the governing authority, and hereby declares the listing of assets attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A as surplus and authorizes the sale or transfer of the same. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held to be invalid or unconstitutional for any reason of any court of competent jurisdiction over it, said portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be in full effect as printed by law. The ordinance have been submitted.
Motion open public hearing.
Motion open public hearing by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Johnson. Second by Councilman Satterley.
Move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwer. Any discussion? Any objection? That ordinance is adopted. Item number 25, an ordinance to revoke a portion of the existing 65-foot servitude located on Lot 4-B-1-G of 12455 Tijon Lane in Santa Monica. Mr. Parrington.
Purpose to revoke a portion of the existing 65-foot servitude located on Lot B1G, the northwest one-quarter of Section 24, Township 9, South Range 3 East, Southeastern Land District, Municipal Address 12455 Tijon Lane in Santa Monica, Louisiana. The petition has petitioned the Ascension Parish Council to revoke the portion of the dedication of the existing 65-foot servitude located on Lot 4B1G, the northwest one-quarter of Section 24, Township 9, South Range 3 East, Southeastern Land District, Municipal Address 12455 Tijon Lane in Santa Monica, Louisiana. Whereas the Planning Commission, Drainage Department, Engineering, and the relevant utility companies have reviewed and researched the request and have no objection to the partial revocation. Therefore, the Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants approval of the revocation of a portion of the existing 65-foot servitude located on Lot 4B1G, northwest one-quarter of Section 24, Township 9, South Range 3 East, Southeastern Land District, Municipal Address 12455 Tijon Lane at Santa Monica, Louisiana, more fully described in the attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. Said revocation reducing the existing servitude to 26 feet along the northern line to 26 feet from the property line at the center of the ditch. All ordinances or parts of the ordinance in conflict herewith are hereby henceforth repealed. If any provision of the ordinance is hereby held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect provisions which can be given effect without the invalid provisions. This end, the ordinance is hereby declared severable. The ordinance shall be effective within 15 days. The ordinance have been submitted.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilwoman Lawson.
Motion to move on.
Motion to close the
Oh,
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry, I forgot to close it. Motion to close?
Motion to close by Councilman Cazzo, second by Councilman Johnson.
Motion to ordinance.
I have a motion to move
Second.
the ordinance by Councilman Kluwat and a second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Any objection? That ordinance is adopted. Before we get to that, Mr. Kluwat, do you have something?
Yeah, just a quick note to everyone that we've got our local National Guard troop that's been in Kuwait. They will be coming home probably within the next week and a half. So we want to be sure and embrace all the families, and I think everybody's pretty much coming home safe. I think they went over there, and of course they've been replaced by some other folks that are local. So we'll keep praying with them all through the Christmas season.
Randy, anybody we know in that group?
Huh?
Anybody we know?
Yeah, one in particular, Sergeant Daniel Kluwat.
Okay.
Here we go, home for Christmas.
I just wanted you to mention his name.
Congratulations, that's great news. Lieutenant Taylor, thank you for being with us tonight as well. With that, I'll entertain Councilman Todd Lambert's motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. We are adjourned.